We're going to talk about what to do when earthquake, whatever disaster, hazard-wise happens and you're at home, in case you don't know what to do, how to prepare, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's on. Okay. Now time to see. Do we go like this? I think we should go like this. Because y'all have the screen. Maybe I'm Sarissa, maybe I'm not, but you can call me Rice because that's my nickname. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back. If you do not know me, I'm Elegant Leisure Content Creator. Twitch, YouTube, everywhere, social media. That's basically maybe Sarissa. And today, I'm going to talk about, I'll say hazards in you. That's why I titled the, I'll say class, but I'm not a teacher. Repeating, disclaimer, not a teacher. I have an educational background in architecture, and I specialize in hazard mitigation, which is like in English, I'll say major risk, which is like how to build to resist earthquake, hurricane, typhoons, natural and technological disaster, if that makes sense. Yeah, I know. It's a very niche thing. So with all that climate change and all that is natural disaster that is happening, I'll say at a more intense degree these last years, and seeing feedback from people when like on Twitch or on YouTube commenting or even just talking on Twitter, I'm seeing more and more people not knowing what to do if something like this happens to them, and it's a worldwide issue. So I decided, why not share knowledge? So today is like the first class, I'll say just the basics, and I'm not going deep because again, I'm not a teacher, so I'm gonna try to internet it down so it can be understood. So questions will be welcome, and it's interactive, and there will be time with chat on Twitch. We'll be able to come and talk and blah, 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 blah. Hazard and You 101. Understanding, preventing, thriving. Disclaimer, I'm not a teacher. Educational background in hazard mitigation, but I'm not a teacher. Okay? I'm just a person explaining on the internet. Okay? Okay. First thing first. What is this? Okay? We're going to talk about what is a hazard. Okay? What is it in general? What you need to remember, what you need to know, and actions versus probability. The action versus probability is when chat comes in most of the time. So sometimes it's going to get technical a little bit, but not that much. Okay? Give me some grace, and I have the paint ready, and I paint on mouse. So definition. A risk, just in the term of this presentation, but when I talk about risk, this is what I mean in general too, because it's kind of been teach down in my brain now like this, is hazard plus stakes plus vulnerabilities. Sometimes you think hazard time stakes, time vulnerability, and sometimes you see just hazard and stakes. The hazard, oops, my bad, too fast. The hazard is the, we'll say the phenomenon. The stakes is the what you have to protect. The vulnerabilities is how strong or how prepared are you to face whatever comes. We'll go into detail on that. So the most important is like when we talk about risk, high risk or low risk, is a combination of all these. And when it happens and your stakes are in danger or destroyed, that's what we call the disaster. So this is in French, but it doesn't matter because it's still, I use the same colors as just now. Aléa is the hazard. It could be natural, flood, fire, etc. It could be technological, like if a dam breaks and water goes and floods something, an industrial accident, etc. The enjeu, in French, is stakes in English. It could be human, economical, it could be environmental. And here, this is from the cquest.org. It's like a site that talks about like major risk, and stuff. And they are calling this, that's what I call like, they're more characterizing the vulnerability with the gravity of the situation and how the occurrence of it, like how often or not often it will happen. So depending on the occurrence, the probability will be reduced, or depending on how severe it is, intense, it is less or more sensitive to the stakes. But this is for everybody. You don't have to live in an earthquake zone for this to be useful. Literally, I think everyone needs to have this. Everyone needs to know a minimum. Because when I was learning all this, I was like, I think this should be learned everywhere in school, but they don't. So here I am now. So first step first. Remember the definition. Risk equal hazard plus stakes plus vulnerabilities. So we'll start with hazard. What's a hazard? It's a random phenomenon. That's it. Just random phenomenon by itself. Random phenomenon. Some examples: fire, flood, earthquake, storm, volcano, eruption. If there's no stakes, if there's no vulnerability, there's no danger. If a hazard happens and there's nothing there around it, like in the ocean, no fish, no boat, no human, no nothing, no construction, nothing, it's not considered dangerous. It's not risk because the hazard happened by itself. Example: there's earthquakes every day. 55 approximately, d'après the USGS.gov. D'après is French. Following the USG.gov, there's like 55 earthquakes per day. But you don't hear about them every day on the news because most of these earthquakes are either small, little, or nothing happen to anyone. So it's not worldwide news. For the internet, Thanos. Boom. Thanos pops up. But there's nothing. There's nothing. Thanos pops up, he's the hazard. Okay? Thanos pop up, he's the hazard. To make it easy, what do you do next? Stakes. What you have to lose when Thanos pop up? You have people, you have pets, all your infrastructures, your food circulation, water, electricity, your internet connection. Once there are elements to be lost, these are your stakes. The stakes are what you have to lose, what you are trying to protect. The universe. That's what happened in the Avenger movie. Thanos pop up. What was at stake? The universe. Because man wanted to go poop poop to the universe. Remember. Okay. Vulnerability now. What do you have in place to stop the stakes from being in danger? That participates in your vulnerability. Some examples of what you have in place to protect: essential workers, plans and procedures, adaptive buildings, shelters open for the people of the place if they don't have a house that is adaptive, laws, education, culture, all of that. The level of vulnerability heightens or lowers the danger. Okay? So if your stakes are well protected, it changes the outcome. Example: if you have the Avengers to go against Thanos, you're well safer. But imagine the movie if Thanos came with no Avengers. No Avengers. Thanos on the planet. A complete different movie. So the level of vulnerability depends on what is currently in place and gives different outcomes. The same hazard at the same place with different vulnerability, it changes. That's why I did the Haiti earthquake video. When people say, oh, Haiti is caused this and that, you can check out the Twitch and the YouTube for that video if you haven't seen it. Because I feel like Japan, for instance, is a place that has earthquakes all the time, yet they're not seen as cursed. And the difference is that Japan, what they have vulnerability-wise is not the same as Haiti. So you have a big difference. And we can do that the same with Mexico. Mexico does not have the same, I'll say, resilience as Japan earthquake-wise. Same hazard, but vulnerability is different. She just created a what if episode just like that. Just keep in mind the Avenger thing, okay? For the hazards. It makes it easier. Because it's easy for me because I'm in it. But if you're not in it, just remember the Avenger. Thanos is the hazard. The universe are the stakes. And the vulnerability is if the Avengers are there or if they're on vacation. Or if they disappeared. They never was there. No one know who they is, you know? Okay. What you need to know. You need to know the risk you live with, whether it's natural or technological, the possibilities. Prevent. Know how to react and have a contingency plan. This is what we're going to talk about today, okay? These two, prevent, preparation, but mostly the prevent. Knowing how to react and have a contingency plan, okay? Next, preparation. You have to inform yourself on shelters available to you just in case. Have a 3-day minimum food ration and water at home at all times, okay? Because if something hit, you don't know when it's going to hit, you should have 3-day worth of food and water. That's what's suggested at all times. Have an emergency kit, have flashlight and batteries, or a manual powered radio at your disposal so you can know what's happening. Because if there's no internet, if there's a technological hazard, recommended. After everyone do what y'all want. Okay? You have to stay informed if the internet down or no electricity. These are some websites if you live in the USA, but France it works too. La Croix Rouge, Red Cross. I know everyone is like skeptical of Red Cross, Croix Rouge, I understand, but they do have a list of where to find shelters in general. If you can't stay home, you can, like, if it's something like a hurricane in advance, you know if a hurricane is coming. So if you need a shelter, you can prepare. But if you have pets, this is for in case you have pets, because not everyone knows this. Most shelters do not accept pets, so you need to look at something else. So I put another website, petswelcome.com, as an example, but you have to just Google it. There's others, but you have to make sure check in advance to either get your pet in a pet hotel or something, or go to a shelter that lets you have pets. They also like have recommendations on how to react on some of the disasters. Now we're at action versus probability. So I'm going to go over what to do if you are at home. If you are in a shelter, this is a complete different scenario. Because shelters, you're not in your home, you can't act out. Every shelter will have their own rules, so go look at that. But if you are home staying and these emergency happens, we're gonna go over what to do and what not to do mostly. Because I feel people like to say what to do and they don't say what not to do and what happens when you do them. So we're gonna go over everything, okay? So I will let you chat first. Tell me what's the first thing you think to do for best survival. And then after that, I will say, okay, maybe whatever. I will tell you if okay or not and tell you what not to do versus what you should do. So you remember the best course of action. We end on what you're supposed to remember. Okay?